A great Wednesday afternoon to you. Roger Hill at Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards forecaster. The VELCO Weather Hazards Outlook. This weather video driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota Twin City Subaru and 802 Honda, all located off of exit 7 on Interstate 89. Big picture across the country, you can see the big expansive area of clear skies. It stretches well into the desert southwest. We have a trough of lower pressure. You can see here across the northern parts of the Rockies, interior areas of Pacific Northwest. That's going to be tracking kind of over the top of this ridge. And we have this cutoff low, this upper level low that is cut off from the jet stream, spinning underneath this big arc of higher pressure. This is kind of what we call a Rex block. And it continues to hold pat and will so. It looks like going well into this coming weekend. Let's take a look at the incremental models. And here we have basically the area of higher pressure centered back over the north central Atlantic. And then ridging well across southeastern Canada into the Great Lakes and a good portion of the country, even all the way back into the desert southwest. We have practically clear skies, no precipitation. Here's the upper level low that's spinning away. And let me take that back just a little bit. So this is the rest of today. No real issues there. Notice a little bit of a creep in this upper level low is going to start to work toward parts of New England as this high pressure ridge eventually collapses. It's going to be a very slow process though. Here we are into Friday. And once we get into Friday afternoon, we can start to see a little tiny bit of precipitation over the Adirondacks. These are sort of popcorn pulse type thunderstorms. That's going to be mostly confined to the southern counties of Vermont and over toward the Adirondack Mountains. However, once we get into, that's basically Friday night, and now we're into the day on Saturday, it'll become a little bit more widespread. You can see that there with some of the indications of some widely scattered shower and thunderstorm activity at that point. Let's, and running back the models here, this is valid again on Saturday afternoon. You can see just a little bit of a spread of some widely scattered leftover precipitation. Very minor amounts, though, and not a very good rain-producing situation when we've had basically kind of heading into kind of drought conditions. But as we go into Sunday, we'll also see another breakout, mostly across northern areas. Again, widely scattered thunderstorms. These will be relatively slow movers. There's not a lot of wind fields aloft, so there's really no wind shear issues, but there's lots of instability. So these thunderstorms will grow tall in the sky. They'll have an output production of some pretty intense lightning, typically. And where they form, they initiate off the higher terrain, and then eventually they kind of work toward the valleys. And there could be 1 or 2, maybe even 3 cycles of thunderstorm activity, depending on the outflow boundaries. All of these sort of initiating off the higher terrain at first and then spreading out. Now this is going into Monday late in the day. This is when we have a little better organization, kind of a weak trough of lower pressure. And then along about Tuesday, this is a bona fide weather system here that's going to trigger showers and thunderstorms. These look to be the strongest. This is just beyond the period. We're talking into Tuesday of next week. And this is probably the best potential to see severe weather. However, any one thunderstorm, isolated in nature, could do a pulse kind of a wet microburst. And we could see wind gusts 50 miles per hour, but very, very localized and not very widespread. Here's a look at the GFS Canadian ensemble, and you can see that no precipitation issues up until the time we get into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And the 3-hourly QPF matches up very nicely with CAPES, convective available potential energy. You can see some of the CAPES illustrated here are way over 1,000. We're talking 2,000 joules per kilogram. And then in total precipitation land, this is kind of what it looks like, a little step ladder as time goes on, but we're talking 1.2 inches, but this is over a 7 to 10 day period. Total accumulated precipitation from the 7-day QPF from the Weather Prediction Center shows southern Vermont seeing less amounts of precipitation, a little bit more across the northern greens, a little tighter there, and then of course nothing relative as you get down toward Boston and the southeast coast. But we're going to see thunderstorms develop, and they're going to become increasingly more widespread over time. 2-meter temperatures look like this. We're looking at temperatures easily into the 80s, topping close to 90. A little bit of a cool down as we get into the early part of next week. We're typically on that 1 to 7 day cycle. and then kind of just levels off. And dew point temperatures look like this. And one other thing we'll look at is precipitable water. And what you can see there is that we do climb around 1.2, 1.4 inches once we get into basically this weekend and beyond. And looking at the MOS 5-day maximum forecast weighted anomalies, running about 9 to 12 degrees above normal for this time of year. About 3 days later, it looks like this. And a quick look at the temperature anomaly forecast pattern. This is our heat wave. It's actually working in from Canada. And much of eastern Canada is seeing some pretty warm temperatures, whereas cooler in the southeast, southwest, and then up into northern areas there, northwestern Canada. Tropics all quiet. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.